Hey everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Welcome Home podcast. Over here we talk all things property, from real estate to interiors, mortgages and so much more. Now I'm here to learn just as much as you guys are, and I am so excited for today's episode. Today we are talking to Alysha. She is in charge of all things interior design over at Redrow. This episode is very excitingly in partnership with Redrow, and I have so much to discuss with Alysha, and not only about kind of dressing Redrow homes, but about herself as a woman in the industry, how she got to where she is, and I have so many amazing interior tips for you. So I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. So thank you so much for chatting to me today, Alysha.
It's okay, yeah, I'm glad to be here.
No, so I'm really excited. So with Welcome Home, we've spoken a lot about kind of properties, buying your first home, getting a mortgage, but something that we haven't touched on is interiors.
Yeah.
So I would love it if you would just kind of tell the audience a little bit about you, your story, and of course your job role.
So story is quite difficult to think back because I graduated 10 years ago, so I'll try and
it's a scary number,
hark
isn't it?
that memory back to the good old days. So I did a degree in interior design, but prior to that I was thinking about this the other day, and I never knew I wanted to go into interior design.
Okay.
Never came into my mind as a child. It wasn't, I know that's kind of the unglamorous thing to say, but I kind of fell into it.
Right.
So always did painting and drawing, art and design, creative. Transitioned a little bit over to A-level 3D, and I think that's what kind of that 3D form and starting to mess around with kind of how things are constructed and deconstructed. And then that led on to me thinking, oh, maybe I am academic enough to go to university to study something creative. Applied and then got in, and I went to Liverpool John Moore School of Art.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we were the first year to use the building, so that was super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I wasn't always sure it was going to be interior design. It was fashion management. I went to Man to have a look at that.
Oh my goodness.
So it could have gone kind of two ways. Decided on interior design because I thought I'm more likely to get a job. That's literally
really, that was what the deciding factor was?
Yeah,
That's
it
crazy.
was fashion management, set design at Liverpool Performing Arts, which is the Paul McCartney University in Liverpool. Set design, interior design, or fashion management. And then I kind of thought, interior design, probably more likely to get a job in the long run. So
it is the most realistic when you say it out loud.
And I thought if I can get into interiors and maybe I can kind of go back on myself and become a set designer, I can kind of cross over.
Yeah, definitely.
So then I studied and loved every second. It was a 3-year course. And then obviously it was trying to get into the world of work.
Yes.
Just after a recession. So that was interesting.
And how did you find your first role? So how did that kind of happen?
So my first role, I actually forgot about, and I was thinking yesterday, what was my first role? And it was a weird one. It was a freelance job that I got in Manchester to do an office interior. So it was a complete redesign. Got selected. Obviously massively scary.
Was that solo? They selected you freelance?
Yeah, so me sort of solo, and then I looped in one of my sort of uni friends, and we sort of like linked in with the like internal renders, but the presenting and things was
That's not a bad first gig, really, is it?
It's quite a good first gig. I mean, to be honest, I think what it was the School of Art. The way this course was set up was very collaborative. You were always presenting and under constructive feedback from your peers and your tutors. So what happened was, I didn't realise with interior design that's kind of how the world of work is afterwards. So when you go into it, that's literally what your job is going to be. Completely getting kind of constructive feedback and presenting. So I think the School of Art set me up really well for, doing a freelance job straight away after uni to a private client. I was used to presenting, 3 years of it.
Oh my god, that's huge, because you must have still been super young at that point.
Yeah, I actually can't remember how old I was. How old are you when you graduate?
I guess, what was your course, 3 years?
3 years.
So what, you were like early 20s, 21?
Early 20s. Yeah, probably 21.
Amazing. And then, so how did you then end up at Redrow?
So do the whole bio.
Yeah.
Might as well go back.
Yeah.
So after the freelance, I think it's really important to not just look at where you live to get a job, especially in a creative industry. So I moved down to London for a bit after doing the freelance, spent a bit of time down there, trying to get anything I could, interviewing, getting knocked back, picking yourself up again, getting on the tube with your big folders and your phone board models. I would take, because I didn't have work to show them. Like, I didn't have installations that I'd worked on. I just had uni work on my freelance. So went down, that kind of came to a natural ending, came back up north, and then I got my first job as a drawing in a drawing office for high-end kitchens in Tom Howley.
Oh, nice.
That was interesting. Yeah, they were like premium, doing manufacturing drawings. It was very much like hitting targets, getting the drawings out.
Yeah.
Not really creative.
No.
Then I moved to my very interesting first proper junior interior design role, which was in Hale in Cheshire, which is the Golden Triangle. Yes. Lots of money. So it was designing things right from scratch. And then understanding the whole process. So it was a small team, really, really small, and we did work abroad and all over the UK. And I just learned literally everything.
It sounds like that was just the thing to teach you everything.
Literally, like you either sink or swim as well. Like because it's such a small setup. If you order fabric wrong and you order it too many lengths of it, that's your fault. You order the leg detail wrong again. It's
pressure.
The pressure was at the time. I don't think I realised though. I think I was in the moment and I wanted to impress and do really well and worked any hours she wanted me to, and I just loved it. So that was my first proper interior design role, and her look was very classic contemporary, very neutrals, but using the best suppliers. Now I'm 10 years graduated, I realised, back then we were using the most prestigious Italian fabrics and the best people to make mirrors, and we were making them all from scratch. So
oh my goodness,
that was a really good first kind of introduction, and I was lucky to get it, even thinking about now. And organising, going abroad and taking, it's fine, installing in England has its, even maybe in London, it's difficult to get lorries in and like cranes, get into furniture, into windows. That's difficult. Getting things to Spain, slightly different.
I was actually talking to someone the other day who they know an art dealer, and they were talking about shipping art and how confusing, complicated that is, and how you ship the kind of the work in one van, and then you have to ship the certificates and all of the documents in a separate van. So if something happened to that van, no one can do anything with it, and all the other things like that you would never think of.
And like organising each piece of furniture from each different supplier from an operations perspective, and having an Excel document to kind of list every piece of styling that's been ordered, and then getting that loaded into a van and making sure it's there.
You just never think of like the practical side, do you?
No.
Wow, was there a lot of that as well?
Yeah, it was really hands-on and really like long hours. You expected, to be involved, but that's how you learn. And I didn't know how to style prior to that, so I was just literally watching and absorbing, and how are they doing it? How can I sort of copy? But you don't realise at the time that you're doing that, because you're like a sponge, I suppose.
Absolutely.
So sorry, I'm going on. And then after that job was a commercial job. So that was doing for the Hook Group, and I did all the commercial interiors.
Oh wow.
So that ranged from anything really, from sets for My Protein to warehouse receptions.
That's so different to what you were doing previously.
Yeah. Wow. And I think as a designer, it made me realise I am a residential designer. Okay. And I'm not commercial. Yeah. I needed to do that. Absolutely. To figure out kind of what my flair was. Yeah. And I know that's really important to, if you're ever unsure, I would always say try and dip into different aspects. Dip your toes. Just have a little, do you like it? It's not forever. If you don't like it, you can go back to previously what you were enjoying. So that's what I would always say that. Yeah. So I'm glad I did it. Really good, so diverse, me literally on my own. And then getting things from drawing to installation in a commercial setup, which was...
That must be so satisfying when you start something from scratch and you see the finished product.
Yeah, even like a ceiling detail, drawing a ceiling detail and seeing, you know, your spotlights and your coffer and your recessed LED lighting that you've drawn tiny on a little drawer and given it to a builder and asked them to do it. And when they've done it, hopefully accurately, you're like, oh God, that's like such a small thing, but it transforms a space and such a tiny detail. So I really enjoyed it. And then I got Redrow, so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you've been here 5 years?
Yeah, 5 years, 8 months.
Wow. So what is your current role?
So I head up the interior design team, which is internal at a group level. So I look after all the show homes, and there's I think 14 regions now.
Wow.
So we look after the installation from spec to furniture, the whole styling, window treatments, everything is basically, if it's wrong, it's on my head that it's wrong.
So do you walk into the show homes now and it's like your baby?
Yeah.
If something's in the wrong place, or you're like, no, we need to move that back?
Yeah, and I think that comes from my first junior interior design job. So I think you have to be slightly OCD and slightly neurotic, and like love it a little bit too much. And I literally every show home that goes in, and we turn around a lot of show homes, it's fast paced, it's quick. So I would say, it's you have to love it because it absorbs your being. It becomes you.
Yeah. No, it's really funny because, so for anyone listening on Spotify, we are in a Redrow show home right now.
Yeah.
And what I found super interesting today, just being around kind of the Redrow team, and then you walked in and you did the same thing. People keep walking in and picking up on things. They're like, we need to sort that out, we need to tweak that, we need to, and you did exactly the same with a couple of things. And it's so amazing to see that from a team, because you genuinely want it to be perfect. And I think, like you said, when things are such high turnover and you need them done to a day at time scale, it could be very easy just to settle for not perfect, but you guys don't.
Yeah, I think that's our USP, that we have this internal team that manages it so closely and makes sure it's so perfect, ready for shoot, ready for launch, ready for however we're using the show homes. And I think that's our unique kind of selling point for our team and for Redrow. Because that's what makes us different to other builders. We drive it from the internally, and we ensure that it is absolutely perfect for the sales director, who is our client. That's how we kind of, the setup works.
That's amazing.
So
where do you even start? You have an empty show home. I'm guessing you have a shell, essentially. And you have to build
not
up
even a shell.
Really?
You have a slab or a little tiny little line drawing of this is where the show home's going to be, and it's going to be in 16 weeks. That's our turn. 16 weeks. Wow. So we get the brief. From the sales director. Comes into our team, and then we grasp it, and then we'll like ask any questions. Is there any drawings missing? Spec we'll issue, so we'll tell them everything to order that you see in the show home, down from hard floor, kitchens, bathroom cabinets, bathroom mirrors, carpet, fire, just the whole, every spec element is us. That goes over, then they obviously build carries on. They hopefully create the show home that's on our plan that we have.
We hope so.
We don't get here with any kind of shocks or horrors, and nothing's different. Once we're in, then we'll start the whole scheme. So I'll work with our design partners, and we'll design with our personas in mind. So our personas are essentially the family or the couple or the divorcee that live in this home. So that's your foundation, I think. That's the most important thing, your persona. Once you've got your personas nailed, and you know that that's, I suppose, the realistic kind of, it's the realistic person that lives here that informs everything. So for me, I suppose it's built into me that this person that lives in the Richmond, would they have this kitchen? Would they have this worktop? Would they have this tile? It goes down to sort of reverse it on itself. And then we start designing. So we'll start with furniture layout, which are all approved. So we have them set for every house type. See, this is the OCD. Like everything's set. Every
I guess that
house,
makes it easier for you though.
So much easier. And with the volume that we have and the turnaround time, I can know, and things can change, you know, if a table needs to go from a square rectangle to a circular and we want to try it, we can try it. It's not rigid and set so far I suppose it is. And then we just start the scheme, and we'll scale everything in. I always say overscale, never underscale, because it makes it feel like a show home. Make things bigger, if anything. Artwork, sofa sizes, we get them all bespoke. Everything's made for us, so it's involved. Fabrics, piping, like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's really.
So say if I walked into this home and fell in love with like the living room, or fell in love with you know, a particular room, how could I recreate that at home? So not exactly, but the kind of the vibe and the feel of a room. Where would I start?
I would say with a floor plan.
Okay.
So I think the first thing you need to think about is, how do you live? What is this? What do you want from the space? And that's how I think for the personas. I'm always thinking, how would the family use the space, especially with studies now that we have integrated into bedrooms. Would they have the furniture in that position? Would they have a single or a double? Would they have a king or a super king?
That's so interesting that you say that, because this is something that I kind of been preaching, and also to myself. So I am renovating my home, and when I speak to people, they're like, oh, so, you know, what are you going to do with your guest bedrooms? And I'm like, they're not guest bedrooms. No. It's a gym. It's an office.
It's got a purpose.
It's exactly, I'd like every room to have a purpose. And I think that's been drilled into me by people. Like my parents are of the kind of the age where they would have 2 empty guest bedrooms, and I look back now as a kid and I'm like, we could have had like a sitting room upstairs. I could have had, I could have had a dressing room.
Yeah, a dressing room.
Yeah, and I just think, like you said, it's about using your space in a way that works for you.
Yeah. And understanding whether you're single, whether you're however you're going to use your home. That's what they teach you in uni very quickly is. Client. Okay. Who is your client? And if your client's you, your home, then you need to think, how do I would I want a corner sofa when I have guests, or do I want, you know, a 4 and a 2, or
do I like sitting near my guests, or do I not want to touch them?
Not want them near go over there. So
I guess you could like literally start by writing a list of
your requirements.
Requirements. Rooms. Wow.
Yeah, which links back to the personas of Redrow. So it's all like sort of. The personas, I suppose, are our client, our sort of semi-real client. So we would want to know, a Richmond always has 8 seats around a table. Okay. Because you're always going to have friends around, you're a big family. Yeah. You've got people coming in for big dinner parties. Yeah. Open space, the flow, how would they use the family room? Would they have the TV on the wall? There's all these kind of little quirks to the design. So I would say, what's your requirements? How do you use the space? Yeah. You're the client. And then once you've got that nailed, you can start scaling stuff in, like your furniture. Even if you're drawing it by hand. Yeah. Just to get, if you're measuring the key kind of width and length of the room, if you've got a bay window, you can cut out pieces of paper and create sofas and like get a feel for how. Just
to play around with it.
Do you want the sofa in the window? No, let's move it to the wall with the where's your sockets?
Yeah, that's a huge one.
Do you have fire?
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Find out your focal points.
Okay.
Scale it in. Daylight, that's what I always take into account. That then affects obviously colours that you put on the wall.
Yes, this is what I was just figuring out, because I have a really like light living room. Yeah. Light and bright, and I was like, well, I wanted to do a dark living room, but I'm like, does that make sense now? Or should I pick a room that's dark throughout the day anyway and just may as well paint that dark? It's really hard to know what to do.
Yeah, but then go with your gut. If you want a dark colour in that, worst case scenario, if you don't like it, you can just paint over it. Paint is paint. We do it here. If I don't like it, it's a bit of a nightmare, but you just paint over it.
And does that ever happen?
It used to happen a lot, not so much anymore, because we've streamlined a lot. But it's a creative process. Yeah. And that goes from commercial design right up into high end. You can't plan until you're in the space. You can do as many recce's as you want. Oh yeah. Until you're in there, and then you go, actually, do you know what, this room needs that extra, je ne sais quoi.
So when it comes to kind of Redrow and having a new build property, obviously you can have kind of extra choices when you're purchasing a house. There's My Redrow where you can choose upgrades and things. So do you have any input on kind of the workspaces? Because I know they're all really carefully sourced items, kind of like the best of the best. Yeah. So is that something you're involved with?
Yes. So I think a lot of people don't know this as well about the team, so I love to talk about how involved we are with spec.
Okay.
So everything that the customer chooses, so Sailstone, everything that I've just spoke about on my Redrow, that is all from our team and driven by our team.
Okay.
So it then influences the scheme. So it needs to come from us to know the trends, what's going on in shows, what's going on in fashion, product, wherever you're getting your inspiration from affects literally the colours that you see on the spec. So we design a lot of ours from scratch, which is different to other builders.
That's so funny, because that's something that we haven't really spoken about earlier. For anyone listening, we did a podcast earlier over on the Redrow channel where we spoke about kind of Redrow as a whole. I actually purchased a Redrow home previously and kind of my experience, and I purchased a worktop upgrade. But I'd never looked at it in this way before. You're essentially paying for an interior designer.
Yeah,
because
really,
you're
we're driving it.
And collecting kind of the best of the best. That's something that I never really saw it like that. But gosh, people I assume spend hours finding the perfect worktop or the perfect.
It's huge as well. It's such you're spending a lot of money. And you want that. You want the best. So I'll even query handles.
Really?
Like if a kitchen supplier, is that the best handle that we can get? Is there any new handles? The trend is bronze, not copper. Let's move on. Let's go to gold. As long as it's relevant to our buyer and who Redrow is and who understands in our brand, the spec needs to suit that, and then it's going to hopefully persuade customers or potential customers to purchase a Redrow home. So I think spec's so important.
Absolutely.
So important. Getting it absolute and ahead of the curve. Always, I never sit on spec and think, right, these Sailstones will do now. They're nice. They're on trend.
Yeah.
We're always thinking we've got another library release coming up, ready for the public to purchase.
Yes.
What's the new Sailstone of the moment, or what's coming up that's going to get mined that we could potentially have and bring in. Let's get some shots of that and have a look at what it's like. Feel it. Is there anything new that we can do with spec?
Yeah.
It's not stagnate. No. And that's so important to
keep it moving.
And we're a premium house builder. We have to have spec to reflect that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, so kind of on the flip side of things, we're talking about being on trend and making sure everything's up to date. When it comes to kind of a new build property and character, how do you make a new build property feel characterful? I mean, obviously with Redrow, I'm sure you'll be able to tell us, they do a lot of that for you, don't they?
Yes, so from the exterior, if we're just looking at the house, obviously it's arts and crafts inspired. That's what makes us different to the mass market. We've got the features of the hip roof. There's all these beautiful design features of the 1920s inspired heritage home. Internally, we have our ceiling heights are higher, our doors are larger, our skirting boards are taller.
So that's the word. I keep calling them chunkier when I keep talking about it, because mine's a Victorian property, and back in the day, in the front of the house they would have been taller, and back of the house slightly lower.
Right.
And I was saying it's something that I really wanted to follow through from my Redrow property, was keeping the chunkier skirting board. It's so not the word.
Well, I suppose it is. It's chunkier. It's got it's a taller skirt. Architraves.
Yes.
Maybe even little things like adding a ceiling rose to a pendant, or changing lighting's key for me. I think if you get your lighting right, then that informs a hell of a lot of what the feel of the home is like. So in the interiors team, we have a say on the lighting as well, so the lighting layout, so where we put pendants and where we put spots, how many spots. So it's all driven. I suppose it forms a picture as well. It's not just putting a few pieces of furniture in.
Oh no.
Which I don't think people know. I think it's so involved. So I'd say making it feel more characterful would be lighting. Can you do anything to the lighting that will make it feel slightly more, I suppose the word is bougie.
Love that word.
Like a ceiling rose around a really cool oversized pendant. Changing your spots. Say if your spots aren't working in your kitchen diner, flip some spots out for a pendant. You don't have to be restricted. Always obviously use a professional to do so.
Good advice.
Definitely not be unless you're really confident, or an electrician on the side of your main job. And then I would say just paint, paper, understanding daylight, getting an understanding of how the home flows as well. I think that's probably the key. Something
that I've been thinking about recently is because I've started kind of planning the colours of my home.
Yes.
And I'm trying to see it as, I guess I'm trying to create balance in the home. So I've always lived in new build properties from literally a baby. So this is the first kind of older property I've ever lived in. I've lived in kind of high-rise apartments, and every home I've had has been white. Even when I got my brand new Redrow Oxford, I had a painter come in and I got them to come and paint it bright white instead of almond white.
Clean.
I just wanted, and I was also quite young. I didn't really know what to do. I went straight to IKEA and got,
bought the whole room.
Exactly. And that worked perfectly for me, and I loved it. But now I'm trying to implement some colour. So in one of my bedrooms, I'm having my guest bedroom is going to be pink.
Ooh,
and I'm doing florals, ruffle texture. I'm doing full on grandma vibe.
Oh
but then I'm
grandma
trying to
with an
out,
edge.
But then in my head I see it as an overall. So I'm like, how do I balance that in other rooms?
Yes.
So for people kind of at home that want to add some more colour into their home, where do they start?
Do you know you were saying about the pink room?
Yeah.
Don't ever think that your whole house, this is a kit, I think a lot of people think you need to theme a whole house to one colour.
Right.
So it needs to vaguely flow.
Yeah.
But go with the flow. Like things now, I think interiors has changed because it's this lifestyle movement and how people live has changed. And I think that how you live, you need to understand how you live, and you need to be in your home to, don't rush.
Yeah.
We don't need to put grey everywhere like what we used to a few years ago.
That was me. Yes.
We don't need to do grey. It does date as well, and grey's hard to accent with other colours, so we'll put grey as a feature in a show home.
Yeah, actually looking at this show home right now, there's a lot of warm tones, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's a very welcoming kind of vibe in here.
Yeah, the earthy tones is huge. Yeah. And if you can use your earthy tones as your neutral base, so say instead of painting it all out white or a light grey, and then putting a feature of a grey wallpaper or a grey feature paint colour, use your earthy neutrals, so like fawns and kind of hazily caramel tones.
Oh, I love that.
Use them as your neutral, and then you can switch out your wall colours so much easier. So you can put burnt orange, ochre, sage.
Those colours are so in. What's it? It's a Farrow & Ball one. Is it setting plaster? That's like the colour of the moment.
Oh yeah.
It literally looks like plaster on the wall, and that's the vibe.
Yeah. Stone kind of. Everything that's natural, and I think this whole lifestyle change of people wanting things that are more, well, obviously the handmade element with styling, things that are made by a person, not a machine. That's a key. Huge movement.
And kind of, has this been a trend before? Like, has this come full circle, or is this something you've not seen for
I think
years?
For the last 2 years it's sped up, and we suppose we weren't really aware of where things came from, and now everyone's obviously much more aware of sustainability, where things are made, down to greenery and it sort of translates through the whole home. So live in your home, get an idea of kind of what you want, and then go with the flow with it. Just kind of do room by room. Don't theme the whole house to a colour. Again, it's how you use the space. A cinema room doesn't need to be dark.
No. But you just assume, I guess, that it does, but why?
Yeah, because in a commercial setup, you know, you have the red velvet and the gold and the heavy textures, but flip it on its head, you know? Black out blinds, and then you could do kind of earthy oranges, greens, sages, so it's really fresh. So don't stick within the boundary of what a room should be. How do you want it to be? Does it suit you? Guest bedroom doesn't need to be bland at all.
No. Doesn't even need to be a guest
bedroom.
It doesn't
even need to be a guest bedroom.
We can get an airbed in the wardrobe.
Whatever you want.
It's a gym.
Kick on the sofa.
I said this actually. I've got 2 rooms. I'm having one specific, for a guest bedroom, and then I've got my gym, which literally is going to have my Peloton in and nothing else. I was saying it's fun. I'm going to do that like a sage green, because if I have more guests, I can just move the bike and they can go into that room.
It's on wheels, so it's fine.
Absolutely.
You can just move it.
Absolutely.
Adaptable spaces as well. That's a huge, I suppose, lifestyle interiors trend. Because we're spending more time at home. Does that space need to be just the study, or does your kitchen, do we have maybe partitions that we can put into a kitchen that we can create another space off that space, so it's still one kind of more fluid, I suppose. It's a more fluid way of using your home.
Yeah.
I think that's a completely new sort of concept for everyone to get around. Like your home has blurred into social work.
It really has, hasn't it? Over the last couple of years because of everything that's happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess this kind of leads into what I wanted to ask next. And I mean, with things being trend-led, as you're saying, you know, people are changing, that we're going towards more earthy tones and we're using our homes differently. How do you ensure that what you're doing to your home is timeless and not trendy?
To make your home different and not go with a trend, say grey or velvet or crushed velvet, and go that kind of one-dimensional kind of look. I think it's this whole thing of, again, I know I keep saying it, but like, who are you?
Oh, see, this is my problem. I don't know who I am.
Right, we all need to figure out who we are.
I need to like do some research into myself, some inner work. Like, I need to go on a walk and sit on a hill and just like breathe.
You open a whole palette of colours and you'll go, that's me.
But I don't know if I go towards them because they're trending. So am I liking like the dusky pinks and the sages right now?
Because you're seeing them,
Yeah, because everyone else is.
Yeah. I think, honestly, your home will stand out and look different on Instagram and different to all the other homes if you've got your own stamp on it.
Yeah.
And whether that, and who cares if anybody likes it, you know? I think that's what makes it stand out even more, you know?
Yeah, I've accepted that I want it to be super eclectic. Like, I don't want anything to match. I'm going to do...
Which is a trend.
Yeah, I guess, in itself.
More is more.
Maybe that's my trend.
Yeah.
I said to my mum, I want to do, like, wallpaper in the bathroom. She's like, that's so dated. You can't do that. And I was like, well, you know what?
No, it is.
I am doing that.
Yeah.
I'm happy with that.
No, wallpaper is everywhere in bathrooms. And I think... it's finding that thing that makes you feel like, oh yeah, this is my design stamp on this. I've really like kind of gone over, and if it's just picking maybe mismatching tiles, and you've kind of made a montage on a wall. Rory Dobner does a lot of that with the hand illustrated line drawings. They're so cool, and that is so like writing your name in tiles as part of a whole feature wall in a shower. So cool.
Oh my goodness, yes, that's the thing, is it like welcome home?
Welcome home.
Yes, you walk in.
Into the floor. So those little details will make it more design driven home.
Yes.
So yeah, I would say go with what your gut, what you like. Don't follow, keep an eye on trends. Pinks, blues, earthy tones, but then layering it. You're in your home for most people are staying in their homes a lot longer now.
Yes.
So that home needs to date with you, and I think layering items creates much more character. Again, linking back to how do you make home feel less kind of, I suppose, stark and new build.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
I know. Flip things around on its head, you know. You don't have to have two walls in a feature colour.
Yeah.
We often wrap it all the way around and corner it, so we have sort of flanking walls in a colour, and then we'll reverse the tones in the opposite space.
Oh,
so
that's
we'll have,
cool.
Yeah, so then you flip it on its head really. You don't have to stick with the colour on the wall. Bring in some blue, bring in some green.
Yeah.
So
how do people save money on interiors? They've decided, you know, it's time. They're over the grey, the crushed velvet. They want to put some time into their home.
Yeah.
But, you know, they want to do it on a budget. Is there any tips that you can think of off the top of your head? Kind of, they don't have to be too in depth, but kind of general tips.
General tips to transform a space, quick, easy tips as well.
Yeah.
I know I keep saying it, but lighting. If you can afford a new light fitting, that's just going to be a winner.
Okay.
Transforms it like that.
Yeah.
Styling's a big one for me. I think it's a quick win. High street shops like H&M, Zara, Flying Tiger, John Lewis online, even all the kind of.
Sorry to interrupt you, but have you seen their basics range, their everyday range?
Habitat,
so
brilliant.
Affordable.
Yeah, it's really so. Fashion brands transitioning and crossing over into interiors, because I think interiors has become a reflection of you more than, I suppose, we're not going out, so are we kind of reflecting through our clothes or reflecting through our home? And this, hence why there's like statistics everywhere saying that people are buying much more online now. Zara, their homeware is just off the scale.
Gorgeous, isn't it?
I look forward to, I don't know I'm going to say that, but their homeware release no, actually that's a lie. I look forward to both the fashion and the homeware release in conjunction with each other.
I think they've just created this incredible vibe that sums up kind of this like Gen Z millennial
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
vibe.
Yeah.
But they've even got it, I don't know if you've noticed, in their kids' toys and their kids' clothes.
Yeah.
It fits the whole kind of aesthetic.
Yeah.
And they've nailed it.
Yeah, completely on their brand, and they own their brand, don't they? You know, as soon as you look at a vase and like Zara.
Oh yeah, and you can do the same with H&M.
And yeah, H&M's leveled up again. High street stores that have all the homeware in there that you can touch and feel, all the lovely like waffle towels they've got, and the linen, the bed linen.
Yes.
I'd say bed linen, styling items, which would include kind of vases, greenery, pots, hanging pots, maybe a bit of macrame, a bit of mixed textures, so varying up your cookie jars, your glass vases with pasta in.
Yeah.
Switching it on its head, getting some new accessories, lighting, and probably, I would say, furniture's a big one and it's expensive.
It's the most expensive.
So,
yeah.
and I do often say keep your furniture, your large pieces, invest in them. And often sofas and things, the drive is to probably go for more of like a green, or go for something that will date. But if you do have a more neutral sofa,
Yeah.
in whatever shape, whether it's got a slope arm, a straight arm, a curved arm, and then you layer it with all different, you can get millions of scatter cushions now,
I can imagine, yeah.
throws, fur, seasonally change it as well. That's quite a good tip.
Yes.
Which is what we do in the show homes, you know. We'll if one's launching in summer, we'll be generally going for the lighter tones, which are still trend led and still right for that persona group.
Yeah.
So there's multiple things going on, but the winter show homes, I suppose, and the autumn will have the more, I don't know, darker tone of accessories even. We'll use a bit more black,
Yeah.
a bit more sort of textured kind of tones, a bit more fur if we have a bit of fur in that home, if it's right for the persona. So
Yeah.
go with your gut and go with simple, easy wins. Bed linen transforms a bedroom. If you can't afford a new headboard, a divan is expensive.
Yeah.
A mattress is expensive. If you've got a certain size bed, get Home Sense, Zara, TK Maxx.
Yeah.
Get some nice new linen. And there's no better feeling as well, getting in.
Oh, the best. Having the
made bed,
fresh sheets.
Yeah.
When you showered, you shaved your legs.
Yeah.
And you get into bed. It's
Feeling great.
So perfect.
Yeah, and what's in now is the creased linen. So
Yes,
you
so
don't even need to iron it.
So with the creased linen, this actually kind of links into what the final thing I wanted to really talk about, and that's interiors and sustainability.
Yeah.
Something that I'm really, really big on, and something that I've actually really changed in my life over the past, since the pandemic, really. So pre-pandemic, I had I'm sure you know the Oxford layout quite well.
Yeah,
So
it was in Oxford.
Bedroom
Okay.
2 was my dressing room.
Okay.
It was full of clothes.
Yeah.
Full.
Yeah.
Now, this is, 3 years later. I spent the last 2 years really kind of cutting down my collection. I really stopped buying clothes.
Did you? Okay.
And I have maybe, two
core pieces.
Yeah, it's not that big a collection of clothing, but they're pieces that I love. So I practice kind of like mindfulness when it comes to clothing. I look at materials.
Yeah.
So how can that translate into interiors?
Do you know what I think is this lifestyle trend again of you don't need to change things all the time in your home, and I think it's become unfashionable to be changing it so frequently.
Yeah.
So the eyes are on what you have, and using that, switching it up, maybe doing a little bit of it's that word bougie upcycling. Like if you've got something nice that isn't broken, or you can spray it with those pebble sprays that give a concrete effect. You could do things like that. But ultimately it comes down to picking key pieces. If you can spend a bit more so they last. You can research where they're from, if they've got ethically made a wood table, where's it from, is it ethically sourced, is it from the UK? That would also obviously be a benefit. And then you're going into your linens, your fabrics, your softs, curtain treatments, blinds. Where is all that fabric made from? Plastic bottles now. Mass market, I think just around the corner we're going to see a lot more fabrics that are made out of renewable resources like plastic bottles, rugs.
It's coming, isn't it?
It's coming. It's just it's coming through in high end, and often it's like fashion, it'll trickle down into the mass market, but we will start to see it.
I'm so excited for when things do slow down again when it comes to trends, because oh my goodness, growing up I had this family friend who every time the new Next catalogue came out, they'd completely redo their living room with a new setup from the Next catalogue. And you look at it now and it's ludicrous. And it's the same with fashion. Oh my goodness, fashion brands bringing out new collections every week. I can't wait to get excited about a new collection that comes out once a season. Like, I think that will be so exciting.
That mindset change as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. And I think it's a case of understanding in yourself why you're doing it and doing it to work for you. So not saying you can't buy any clothes anymore. It's saying, okay, well, you can, but make sure you're going to wear it, and make sure it's made from the right thing. So for me, for example, I'm quite tall, so it's very hard for me to go into, for example, a charity shop and buy a pair of jeans. It's going to be very difficult.
Ditto.
So, but then I know I can get a pair of jeans that are made out of really good material. They fit me. And I will keep them for 3-4 years, and that's okay.
Because what you're buying is lasting you longer anyway. Exactly. And then you can be thrifty and pick up eclectic pieces, and kind of, rather than going to landfill, it's the same with interiors. Pick up that vase or candlestick holder or whatever it is, and switch it on its head and make it kind of breathe a new life into things. It's like clothes; it all transitions over.
Yeah, definitely. So how do you feel about, because I love a good Facebook marketplace find for interiors. So have you done any upcycling or anything like that? Or do you have any projects you'd like recommend people to try?
I do. I really love Facebook marketplace personally. I think it's great. I think the world is your oyster with finding the weird and the wonderful on there. From a show home perspective, we don't buy on Facebook.
No, I mean you as a designer in general. Personal projects.
Do you know what? I think personally, I think when you get people around and you can be like, anything with the story, I think sells your home and makes you more interesting. So, whether it's, I don't know, a lampshade or a garden pot that you've got in your garden that was from some guy that you spoke to, or some old lady, and you've got that story behind it and how you've sprayed it or changed it or flipped on it, reupholstered things. But I think anything like that. It's like what's that company that's online that you do clothes? I'm not sure. Vinted and
like Depop.
Yeah. So the interiors world, I think, is more Facebook Marketplace. eBay, that's always good to pick up.
I don't know about you, but I really do think that when you have a home with well thought out interiors and maybe kind of some second-hand pieces, it makes the home feel fuller. If you know what I mean by that.
And you can get some gems as well.
Absolutely.
Some absolute steals, as in like what you've paid compared to what they're actually worth. Real crystal decanters. Now that's a trend that's come back around because of Bridgerton. So you've got the more is more Georgian kind of vibe. So I think if you were to do a study, how many more glass decanters and glassware, traditional glassware, is being purchased / found on Facebook Marketplace. It'll be
skyrocketing.
It's a lifestyle thing of people watching. What are they watching at the moment? And Bridgerton is obviously on the horizon. So
the new series is out. When's the premiere? Tuesday.
So
very exciting.
Glass decanters. I'm saying it now.
You heard it here first.
They'll be flat. You won't be able to get one in a week's time.
So I feel like we've spoken super positively about everything, but I've got to ask you, as kind of before you head off, what are some of your interior pet peeves? If you were to walk into a home and if someone said, "Come in, please give me advice," is there anything you'd walk in and cringe at?
Wow. I would try and be obviously very polite and try and be like, "Ooh, this is nice," but crushed velvet. No, we need to stay away from that. It just dates. And grey. I think grey has been and gone. I'm so over it. We need warm tones that are nostalgic and comforting. Grey is cold. Grey is the 90s in interiors. It's not where we are now. Scaling items, there's nothing worse to me when there's a little picture on a wall. You've got a huge wall, and you've got this tiny little print in a frame. make a gallery, get a picture rail.
Yeah.
Don't put them all at one height, stagger them, or wrap them round a corner is always a nice little technique that I love doing.
Well, that sounds quite cool, yeah.
Overscale.
Okay.
Within reason, measure your space, but if you can get that bigger piece of artwork, that's going to immediately make it feel more high end.
Yeah.
As soon as you start underscaling, even down to like coffee tables that are too low, it makes it feel a bit cheap, and that's what will cheapen your home / your scheme.
Yeah.
So upscale wherever you can within reason. Mainly artwork and prints that artwork and prints can transform a room.
Yeah.
And are incredibly personal to you. So whether you've got it painted by somebody, a friend, a family member, whether you've painted it, whether you've been, it's the show homes, we think about where that family has gone on holiday, where would they likely travel to, where have, and what that family look like, and then make a gallery wall of it. So they're my tips, I suppose.
Yeah, no,
they're my pet peeves.
Peeves.
Pet peeves.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you for speaking to me.
I mean, I will link Redrow's socials down below so you guys can go and check out some of Alysha's work.
Yes.
And see kind of what you've been up to.
Yeah.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.